There are fewer than 30 men in the world qualified to drive Formula One. A mere half dozen, perhaps, to win. At this moment, I'm inclined to think you're not one of them.
No, you want to. Keep up the good work, and there you have it. There you go. With the qualifying.
Welcome to F1Weekly.com. My name is Clark Rogers. I'm the host of the program. I'll be joined by NASIR Hamid, my co-host. This is podcast number 1031, the 12th of February, 2024. NASIR?
Thank you, sir. I say Red Bull may be looking for a new TP. Less than 20 days to first GP. And we listen to a giant racing sound from south of the border. We shall explain gladly. Back to you, El Jefe.
Thank you, NASIR. On today's program, Jos the Boss could push Max to go to Mercedes in 2025. Leclerc's number one status at Ferrari has disappeared. Fernando says LCH not dreaming of Ferrari last year. And what's really behind the Christian Horner monkey business accusations? And this week's interview, 2018 Indy Lights champion, McLaren reserve driver, and current INDYCAR driver, number 5, Pato O'Ward. Yep, NAS will have all the minute details on that. And just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, we do need your contributions to keep this program on the air. Just click on the Support F1 Weekly tab. You know you want to, and I do want to mention on the merchandise page, we have some racing posters, very reasonably priced. NAS, welcome to the studios. I know it's been a big weekend for some people, but I know you're relaxed in Florida in your Fernando Alonso beach chair.
Oh, absolutely, sir. Nothing like that beach chair watching the Formula One cars go by. And I did see that statement that Alonso made that Lewis was not dreaming of Ferrari. So the impression I'm having that maybe a Frito-Lay's truck broke down in front of his casa in Oviedo, and they gave him a few packets free of charge, and now he has a chip on his shoulder. The chip is back, Mr. Rogers.
Woo, doggies!
Well, you know, Mr. Rogers, companies do an annual report, and normally they have a forward-looking statement. Here in the palatial studios, we don't have a corporate business account at JP Morgan or Julius Baer, but we do make forward-looking statements. Sometimes we do rearward-looking statements also, but that's another story. Now here is one. Next week, Formula One will be in action. Beautiful cars will be making beautiful, easy on the ears noise. Tires will be squealing, and the hum of the gentle Hoover sound will be sailing smoothly over the sands of Bahrain Desert. There may be thieves in the temple or trouble in paradise in Milton Keynes, but I am still expecting Red Bull at the top of the timesheets when preseason testing starts on February 21st at the Sakhir International Circuit. Because Red Bull gives you wings and Max Verstappen gives you JATO, jet-assisted takeoff, for a cut above the competition takeoff. Max flew to new heights last season, and best way to put the in-house troubles and media frenzy, which is going out of control, behind him is to do more of the same. The real question here is, will Checo keep up with the Dutch master? He really needs to be within 0.2 or 0.3 second of Max's time, in my very humble opinion. If he is close to half a second slower than Max, then vultures from far away as Australia and New Zealand will be circling above, salivating his seat. And Monsieur Roger, you have seen the future. Machismo is world champion in 2024. But how do you see the preseason testing, especially among the Red Bull matadors?
Oh, we're all waiting for that moment, testing to begin, to see the smiling faces of the new Ferrari driver, LCH, because he's not going to care if he'll be vindicated if the Mercedes is as bad as everybody's expecting it to be. So it's exciting for sure. And everybody's looking at new suits for Ferrari, and they have a new power drink coming on board. There's so much going on. But yes. Oh, yeah, Red Bull. What's going on at Red Bull? And now with Lewis Hamilton moving to Ferrari has opened up the huge can of crazy driver stories. We could see Max go somewhere, Fernando go somewhere else. Who knows? And Nico Hülkenberg, I'm still managing him and pushing away, but not getting too much feedback. But yeah, testing is just around the corner, Nas. It's exciting.
Well, I think Max should take a leaf from LCH and move after 2025, because with Honda gone, I would say follow the money and follow the GP2 engine, in which both cases you can have both if you go to Aston Martin. And they have some very good people at Aston Martin. They are showing some machismo-ness with the machismo, and if they bring in the max factor with the Honda engine, this freight train could keep on running, 6, 7, 8, 9 championships in a row. Obviously, easier said than done. But I do agree with you, and Jos, the boss, that it's time now to make the move. And this has nothing to do with the Christian Horner, situation going on. The main thing is they are developing their own powertrain, just like Audi. So go with the proven winners. Okay, sir, all eyes will be on Mercedes. Car 44, where are you on the time sheet? If the W15 Silver Arrows is within striking distance, meaning within 0.2 second of the Red Bull, the question asks, will the flight to Ferrari crash and burn like other championship-winning pilots on board? Here's looking at you, Nando and Seb. Other question will be, are the Reds faster than Jolly Green Giant? That is one of the Aston Martins with machismo in the cockpit. On paper, Reds have the advantage with two competitive and race-winning drivers, but I will not be surprised if, when told to give position to Leclerc, Carlito keeps his calm and carry on, and the only response team may hear from him will be no comprende. And I have to admit, and I'm really looking forward to it, it will be one of the biggest and most appreciated stories if Fernando Alonso is faster than everybody and wins a Grand Prix for the first time since 2013 in his own backyard. I can hear someone singing, "Wow, I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't." Do you think Machismo will get a win with Aston Martin?
It's starting to look that way. So this edition of the Aston Martin is the first one developed at the new factory based at Silverstone, and they just took it out today, actually. So yes, everything looks pretty peachy. They're pumped up. They know that the RB20 is not going to be that much quicker than the RB19. There's a possibility Fernando could pull off a super machismo trick, while Lewis Hamilton is filling thumb drives with Mercedes secrets.
Now, the Aston Martin launch was on video, YouTube. I watched it just a couple of hours ago, and Machismo was interviewed. The what you call Craig Slater was the presenter. Did you watch that?
No, I did not. I was busy.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was kind of brief and very different than the other launches, but not everything is going to be same. Moving on, lately, Mr. Zach Brown from LA has expressed concerns over two teams having the same owner, saying no other sport allows that. How much Red Bull is the new Visa Cash RB car? I don't know, but they are getting parts from the mothership as much as allowed by rules and regulations. Same thing that Haas has done. I say as long as Visa Cash App is charging low rates and finishing outside the points, I think we will have peace in our lifetime. But watch out, if Yuki starts out qualifying and finishing races ahead of Leclerc and Lando, harum scarum. Steely Dan had Day of the Expanding Man and Michelin had Day of the Expanding Tire. That tire that Bibendum gave to Machismo in Hungary 2003 was already in use for about a season, but as soon as Alonso lapped Michael Schumacher to score his maiden win in Magyar Republic, everybody got in their bitchin' Camaro and started complaining. Ferrari is FIA's E.F. Hutton. When Scuderia Ferrari speaks, FIA listens. I think this is what will happen if we start seeing Yuki and Honey Badger on the podium. Mr. Rogers, would you like to master the moment on this critical issue?
Yeah. It would be nice to see Yuki and the RB Cash App, whatever it's called, could be pretty quick. They switched to a pull suspension instead of a push suspension, so I'm very impressed with that. And they are doing a lot of things on their own. There are some dissimilarities between the Red Bull and the Visa Cash App RB20 or whatever it's called. Yes, so, and you know, why is Zach so hooked up on this issue with Visa Cash App and Oracle Red Bull Racing being under the same flagship? I mean, everybody else seems to be fine with it, but Zach, it does irk him a little, and there's got to be something deeper involved that Zach is not complaining about yet.
Well, you know, the paint scheme, blue color is beautiful on the new Visa Cash App, and it's like the a few years ago they had on the whatever it was called, I think Toro Rosso in those days. The blue is beautiful, but I think Zach's concern is very valid, because if this car is 90, like remember when we had the pink Mercedes, so if this car is like 90% like the Red Bull from the mind of Adrian Newey, and the difference is mostly in graphics and paint and color scheme and of course sponsors, then he has a very valid reason. But like I said, if they are not finishing in the points, Yuki is doing his own thing and Danny Ricciardo is more interested in smiling than winning, and you cannot do that unless you have the package, everything will be hunky-dory. But man, if we have Max on front row, sharing the front row with Daniel Ricciardo, Yuki and Sergio Perez are on the second row, trust me, all hell will break loose in Formula One.
That's true. I mean, I agree with you there, but that scenario, it's not going to happen. I mean, I can't see them being that super competitive out of the box. But I think they've made some progress, but so has other teams. So I'm hoping Haas has made progress. And that's what it's all about. Developing evolutions. And this is still last year's car, folks. Let's not get too excited.
Well, you sound more positive than their new team principal, Komatsu-san.
Well, that's true. And I don't cuss as much either.
Well, I don't know if he does, but we will find out pretty soon. Okay, sir, before we move on to this crusade against Christian Horner that is going on, I just would like to do a shout out to our friend in Berlin, Senor Paul Velasco of Grand Prix 247.com, for giving us a very nice coverage on the Massa interview. So please check out the Grand Prix 247.com website. So I'm very thankful to him for that. Okay, sir, the Christian Horner situation. Last Friday, he was summoned to a meeting by senior members and legal beagles of Red Bull, the parent company, not the racing team. And the meeting was an all-day affair. It was supposed to be at the corporate offices of Red Bull Racing, Milton Keynes, but then they summoned him. Actually, I am told that they sent, it was interesting, it was not even a Honda Passport or a Honda CR-V. They sent a BMW to his house, palatial house in London, and they picked him up and they took him someplace, hotel, I believe. It was like an 8-hour session. While all the details are not available, and we will not speculate, but based on published reports, something happened during Red Bull ski event in Kitzbühel, Austria, and most likely before it was brewing and maybe after that also. And there is also, reports of inappropriate behavior, text messages with images, and who knows what the truth is. So I'm just reporting what is out there on the media or on the interweb. The Formula One season has not even started, but the sport has been rocked and shocked by three major stories, one after the other. First came access denied to Michael Andretti's Formula One entry. Then came Hamilton to Ferrari in 2025, and this has really rocked the driver market. And now we have allegations against Red Bull team principal, of course, looks like serious in nature, and Christian may pay the price. I will be very, very disappointed if this thing comes out to be true and he's forced out, because I think he was like in his mid-20s, very young, when he was made team principal of Red Bull Racing, and has nothing but tremendous success with Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo winning races, and now Max is going non-stop. So it will be a shame if it comes to that. Would you have anything to say on this, sir?
Well, I'm hoping as well. I'm a fan of his success for sure. It's good for Formula One. It's been great for many seasons. And I certainly hope that this is not what we think it is. So far, I think it's good news that they've had a full day of discussing it and nobody's had to quit. So we'll see what happens. The whole thing is just in bad taste. I hated all of it. And I certainly hope that Christian Horner was smart enough to not do what we're claiming he did, but innocent before proven guilty.
Yeah, and this term they're using, controlling and aggressive behavior, to be so successful, you can't be playing poker and bingo with your fellow employees all day long. If you look at all the companies that are successful, there is one common word. The man at the top or the woman at the top is very driven. Look at the Michael Schumacher situation and many other, when people want to succeed real bad and that's all they want to do, they are going to push everybody, and some people don't like push and shove.
That's very true, and that's what I said early in the whole debate. I said this sounded more like a disgruntled employee, and you're right. Ruthlessness is what you're trying to talk about there, and that is part of the DNA of the type A machismo personality.
If this is really a disgruntled employee, then what she could have done is during the Austrian Grand Prix, she could have just put a banner, and start walking on the side of the track, which has been done before.
Absolutely, when we accept all sorts of patriotic protests.
There you go. Okay, sir, now we come to new car launch, Alpine, a very aggressive approach according to technical director Matt Harmon. I watched this and he said, and I quote, "We decided to take a very bold approach. The result is a brand new car from front to back. I think only the steering wheel survived." End quote. Bruno Fama, who had success at Le Mans with Peugeot and was brought in as interim replacement for Otmar Safnauer, is now pretty much the permanent team principal. So at least hopefully they will have some stability. How aggressive the car is, we will find out in pre-season testing. I have a feeling they will not be knocking on the door of Checo Perez, let alone Max Verstappen. I will be surprised if Alpine can jump ahead of Aston Martin this season. Mr. Rogers, we all know your Corazon beach for French Blue. What say you? Are the chances awfully good for Renault-owned team, or will this be another tried?
I think they've made progress. I like what they've done to the design. They did radically change a lot of engineering on this car. I expect them to be up there in the fight with Aston Martin. Unfortunately, their drivers will keep them in trouble and cause problems, but I think competitiveness is going to be there for the vehicle powered by Renault.
At the same time, the Alpine WEC car was also launched, and one of their drivers is Mick Schumacher. In that series, they have formidable challengers in Ferrari, Toyota, and Porsche. One very cool feature of the WEC car is the rear brake lights. Man, they are same design as the Alpine logo, which is very stylish. and looks very cool and bright. Let's hope so is the performance. Now we move on to Visa Las Vegas. The name Visa Cash App RB may not be cool, but the new paint scheme is, which we already discussed a little bit earlier. The new car from the team, which started as Minardi and once launched the career of machismo, was revealed in Sin City last week. German clothing company Hugo, as was rumored for many months, is also on the car, on the front wings and both sides. And you know this company, Hugo Boss, they used to sponsor McLaren and Mika for many, many years. They've done something very creative and I like it. On the Visa car, they have the name Hugo. And today when I was watching on the launch of the Aston Martin, the name is just Boss. So they have Hugo and Boss on two different teams. So that's pretty cool. Do you like that, sir?
Yes, I do like that. I investigated a little bit. They have different divisions for different age levels of fashion. So I think just Hugo now is for the younger, hip, usher listening generation.
There you go. And now we come to stakes are high at Sauber. At present, and this was at the time of writing this, stake advertising or branding on Sauber's website is not viewable in Switzerland and other restricted countries where, and this information from this website called planetf1.com. So there are certain countries, remember at one time tobacco sponsorship advertising was allowed in few countries, not in many other countries. So we're having the same issue with casino and gambling companies. And now there are some legal issues. There is a report by a Swiss publication, SRF, that says, has a statement from gentleman by the name of Patrick Krauskopf, head of the Center for Competition and Commercial Law. This is what he said, and I quote, "Sponsorship would be permitted. In this case, however, the stake and Sauber brands are so closely linked and the term stake is so strongly imprinted in the minds of viewers that we have probably crossed the red line into unauthorized advertising." End quote. So lawyers are busy on both sides, and let's see what happens. Your thoughts, sir? You have anything against online betting and gambling to be advertised on TV?
Well, it is advertised on TV here especially, and it is a certain freedom that people would like, but I also believe in governmental regulations so the poor don't get ripped off every day. But this sounds like, it sounds more like a sticky wicket, and I'm going to stay out of it.
They also have a wicked googly, which I was very surprised. Who owns a Porsche? What's the name of this guy, man, who had a very big show in 20 years ago from New York?
Seinfeld,
Jerry Seinfeld. Gracias. I remember once he was doing commercials, I think it was for American Express, and it showed him playing cricket, and he said, "Oh, that was a wicked googly." But that is so much for cricket. I must get your opinion on San Fran.
What can we say? We get to the Super Bowl, we leave lost and deserted. But it is what it is. You can't go into overtime and leave enough time on the clock for Patrick Mahomes to throw a touchdown. It's called game management. That's the way it is. It's called competition. Better team won. We'll be back next year.
When they missed the extra point, 1 point, when they missed that extra point, it basically cost them the Super Bowl. Because had they scored that, the game would not have gone into overtime. And after the game, as usual, easy to think and say things after the fact. I'm thinking, this is just like what happened in Brazil 2007 Formula 1. 1 point made the difference for two hombres, amigos in the same team. You remember that, right?
I vaguely remember that, but you're right. That was a Niner calling me.
Okay, sir, I think we're at the 30-minute mark. It's time for a Aquafina break today.
We'll be back after these brief messages.
And now, I want to bring Nas in to this wonderful interview with Alan McNish, a great Scot, a great driver. Luckily, I got to meet him briefly in the Renault paddock a few years ago when he was a test driver for Renault, and he was very gracious and signed my hat. But Nas, introduce this interview. This is another great interview with Nasser Hamid and Alec McNish.
Clark, thank you, sir. I met him at the American Le Mans Series race at Laguna Seca a few weeks ago. Alan McNish was born in 1969 in Dumfries, Scotland. Raced motorcycles and karts before switching to open-wheel racing. In 1988, he was a Marlboro driver and won the GM Lotus Series in Britain. And for 1989, he joined West Surrey Racing to compete in British Formula 3. And West Surrey Racing is the same outfit that ran Ayrton Senna in 1983 in British Formula 3. His, like you mentioned, he was with Renault test driver, now he's with Audi. But his career highlights include winning the Le Mans 24-hour race in 1998. After doing development work on Toyota's Formula 1 project, he drove for the team in their debut season of 2002. And I got to tell you something, this guy was very lucky towards the end of the season. I was watching this when it happened. At Suzuka, he had a huge accident. I think it was practice or qualifying. The car went backwards and basically broke through the barriers. And he was banged up but not hurt. And he talks about that in the interview also. Now he's a factory driver for Audi. I asked him what the plans are for next year, and he's hoping to stay with Audi. In this business, you never know, you know. And he lives with his family in your dreamland, France.
And of course, they all go to France.
So thank you, Mr. Alan McNish, and it was very nice talking to him. Hopefully listeners enjoy the interview a wee bit.
Okay, I'm here with Alan McNish, man from Scotland, the land of Jim Clark and Jackie Stewart. Alan, welcome to F1 Weekly. How are you today?
Yeah, very good. Enjoying some Californian sunshine at the moment.
And coming from Scotland, you can use some.
Yeah, yes. I haven't lived in Scotland for about 18 years now, partly because certainly when I was coming through the junior formulas, it was a wee bitty far away from where all the action was. And I've kind of got used to some warmer weather and less rain, so I live in the south of France now.
Okay, you've been with Audi for many years now. You've enjoyed tremendous success, but this year you're getting a run for your money from another German make. How is the season gone for you so far?
Yeah, you're right. The competition level has increased a lot from last year and previous years as well. The other thing is that, you mentioned Porsche there. There's also Acura and Mazda on the odd occasion are sort of coming through to the fore a little bit. They're all in the LMP2 category. And in the American Le Mans series, the circuits are, I would say, more favourable towards a lighter car, even if it's got less power, and that's what an LMP2 is. And so it has made life very, very difficult for us over here for the outright victories. We've won class victories. Dindo and I, prior to this final race, we've won 8 out of 11. But in terms of overall, which is the reason that we're in racing, then it has certainly been a bit of a tough fight. But if I'm being honest with you and totally flat on it, we're fighting against the best. Penske have got a great name in motorsport, Porsche, great history as well. And so from that point of view, Audi Sport and us, we're now, I would say, having competition that in some ways we deserve, because we deserve to be fighting against the best. And so from that point of view, it's been very, very good. And with the addition of Acura, I've quite enjoyed the sort of dogfights, if you like. And Petit Le Mans was one of the, I would say, the nicest races, because it was very clean. None of the teams sort of fought against each other in terms of in a negative way. It was real clean stuff, and the result was obviously quite sweet because we won.
Now, you have raced in sports car racing and in single-seater racing. Is the driving technique different when you're in a single-seater compared to a sports car?
I would say when I started in sports car racing it was, yes, but now it's not. Now we've got a car with a lot of downforce, pulling up to 4G in the corners, which is very similar to Formula 1. In reality, the technology in our car is probably more advanced than anything in the world, including Formula 1. And so from that point of view, we are, I would say, driving it absolutely on the limit and on the nose of the car all the time, much more than ever before. The driving style is similar, but also the races now, because of the reliability of the cars, the races are just 100% flat out all the way. And this is the way I like to go racing.
If you had access to cars which were equally competitive, which is more fun, open wheel or sports cars?
I enjoy sports car racing more, because open wheel now, with so much aerodynamic involvement, it means that you cannot overtake on the track very often. You have to wait to the pit stops. Even if you're 3 seconds slower than the guy behind you, he can overtake because of the aero effect. And so from that point of view, with the mixed categories in sports car racing, it does mix things up. It means that you're overtaking someone every single lap, and even races for the outright lead, they can be decided because of a back marker and slower car, and that just sort of throws another dimension into the mix that I really enjoy.
Going back to driving techniques, did you have to adjust your driving technique when you went to turbo diesel?
Not really. I suppose I had to adjust my driving technique more when I went from the R8 to Formula 1 than necessarily coming back. In regard to going to the diesel, all we had to do was just to be, I would say, square the corner off a little bit. Purely because we had so much torque and power, we couldn't apply the throttle in the middle of the corner so aggressively, which meant that we would brake more in a straight line, turn the car, and accelerate straighter coming out. That was something that I would say was more of an adaptation than anything else.
Now, I believe you were second in the British Formula 3 Championship in 1989. When you did that, were you expecting, or did you get calls from Formula 1 teams?
Yeah, I won the championship for 6 months, and then we lost it in a court afterwards over some sort of regulation on where the starter motor was mounted on the engine. But I have to say that the winner now is David Brabham, and David and I dominated the championship. We won pretty much every round apart from about 3 between us. Whichever way it swung, I think, to be honest with you, it was a deserved champion. At that time I was already contracted to McLaren in Formula 1 for testing, and so the calls came quite soon in that Formula 3 campaign, and then I tested with them and went on to Benetton as it was, and then at that point there was a big reduction in the numbers of cars on the grid, and I made a very clear sort of decision that I would go with Porsche and sports cars. And at that time I didn't necessarily believe it would lead me back to Formula 1, but with the twists of fate and maybe being in the right place at the right time, the option with Toyota came up, and when it does, you take it.
When you went to Toyota, we were all rooting for you, and Mika Salo was there also. How frustrating it is for a good driver and talented driver like you to be in a program which is startup and has so many problems?
At the beginning of the program, both Mika and I knew that it would be hard. What we didn't anticipate was that the car would not develop through the course of the year, and any developments that came apart from one engine development would be negative to lap time performance. So, the car we raced in Australia had been tested more than any other car on the grid, so we had reliability, so we could have a few good results at the beginning of the year, but then after that we did no more development. Everybody else did, and they leapfrogged us. The frustrating part was I do not believe that any other driver combination could have done a better job than Mika and I. It came down to the fact that it was their first year, and Toyota to some extent probably underestimated how much you had to progress in Formula 1 week to week. That's the way it was. No negativity looking back, a little bit of frustration, there's no doubt. No negativity. We knew to a great extent what we were getting into, just as much as Toyota did. I think to some extent they maybe just misunderstood the depth that it required to go to.
And I remember you had a huge crash in Japan. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yeah, I ran out of grip.
What happened?
It's 130R, which was just about flat. It's qualifying, I think, the third run, and I was about 7 or 8 tenths up coming out to spoon the previous corner. You come along a big long straight in top gear, and then you've got the just less than 90 degree left-hander. It's got a little bump in the middle, and as I hit the bump, the rear went down, and it just lost a little bit of downforce. The car snapped. I caught it, but then it snapped the other way. I went off backwards about 190 or something. It was a big impact, there's no question. A little bit bigger than I thought it was going to be when I was going backwards. Thankfully, I'm standing here today. I'm still the same height as I was when I went into the shunt, so all couldn't have been too bad.
If I may ask, was your contract with Toyota for 1 year only, or did they let you go early?
No, I had a 3-year deal which started in 2001. 2000, apologies. Started in 2000 and ran through to the end of 2002. So it came to the natural conclusion of that contract. The year in 2000 was very limited because it was testing with the GT1 car. The real year it started was 2001 with a test and development program with a Formula 1 car.
That thing has really gone downhill. They have so much money, so much technology. They had Gustav Brunner when the program started, and this Mike Gascoigne. What do you think is the problem that this program is really back of the bus still?
I think Formula One's pretty difficult, and if it was easy, everybody would be successful. Just all motorsport is difficult in that respect. Personal opinion is that sometimes you've got to have someone at the top that gives you a real strong technical direction. And in 2002, that's what we missed. Gustav was a very good chief designer, but he wasn't the person to give total technical direction to the team. And so we missed that. And then afterwards, I think they brought in Mike, which was a really good idea. But at the end of the day, someone's backside's got to be on the line. When it works, they get the praise. When it doesn't, they get the boot. And they don't appear to have that.
Okay, tomorrow is the final race of the F1 season. Who would you like to see win the championship? And your thoughts on Hamilton?
Lewis has done a superb job, better than anyone would have expected, and no one predicted he would be going into the final round with a very strong chance of being world champion. Fernando, I think, struggled to come to terms a little bit with Lewis and the position he has within McLaren, because he's been there for such a long time. He's grown up with them. I think a lot of people underestimate that. But Fernando, in my opinion, is a very natural successor to Michael. And then you've got Kimi, who to some extent is a dark horse. Kimi probably drives more on just sheer feel than anything else. But he's the one that sort of crept in the tail end very, very quietly. I think Lewis will win, because I think he'll just get out there and do what he needs to do. But that's only a small thought. If I'm being totally frank, I don't actually know. But you know, if he does win, then it'll be a mega job. If Fernando wins, it'll be a mega job. And if Kimi wins, then it's one that he's grabbed on the blind side. To win a world championship, you have to be good over every single round, not just one or two. And therefore, everybody deserves it that has won it.
Your plans for next season, are you staying with Audi?
Yes, I'll be with these guys. Don't know whether it'll be in America or Europe. That's a decision that they've got to take sometime. But I enjoy driving with Audi. It seems to produce some success. So when it produces success, why change?
You have raced all over the world. Your favorite tracks, both in the US and outside the US?
Outside, it's Suzuka, even although 130R caught me out. Saying that, I was disappointed when they changed the corner after that. They felt it was too dangerous. It wasn't the corner's fault, it was a few other things. But within North America, I love Laguna. I really do enjoy that place. Road America is fantastic as well. There's so many good ones, but probably in North America, Road America. It's got a little bit of everything.
Finally, a message for listeners of F1 Weekly, and we have quite a few listeners in the UK.
Yeah, hello. I hope you're all going to be out there watching the last race in Brazil. It's as drivers, we do appreciate all the support that we get, and we know that we're out there. But one thing you've got to know is that we're out there giving it 110% every lap of the race.
Alan McNish, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alan McNish, thank you very much for joining F1 Weekly.
This is Desiree for F1Weekly.com, thanking you, the subscribers and members of our listening audience, for listening to our podcast, reporting and commenting on Formula One, the highest echelon of motorsport, a blend of technology, tradition, glamour, and guts, all wrapped up in a high-speed package. That's F1Weekly.com for all your Formula One needs.
Hi, I'm Pato Award, and you are listening to F1 Weekly.
Welcome back to F1Weekly.com. Clark Rogers here, your host. And now, as we spin the globe and go around the world with Motorsports Mondial and the king, the sultan himself, NASIR Hamid.
Thank you, sir. We will start the Mondial with interview of the week with Senior Pato Ward. First of all, many thanks to Ms. Scarlett of United Motorsports for organizing this wonderful interview opportunity at the recent Daytona 24-hour race. Pato Ward is a very talented young driver from Monterrey, Mexico. At Daytona, he was racing in the LMP2 class with United Autosports, a team based in England and owned by Richard Dean and Zach Brown. Both have been racing drivers also. Pato's achievements include winning the Indy Lights Championship in 2018 with Michael Andretti's team, and his first INDYCAR victory came in 2021 in Dallas with the McLaren team. He has also done a few races in Formula 2 and Japanese Super Formula as a Red Bull Junior. So I want to thank Pato and Ms. Scarlett again, and hope our listeners enjoy this conversation. Okay, folks, I'm here at Daytona with the new Speedy Gonzalez from Mexico, Senor Patricio Award. Patricio, how are you today, and are you ready to rumble tomorrow?
I'm wonderful, man. I love starting my year with the Rolex 24. It's an amazing event. Every time that I come here, there's more fans around, there's familiar faces, there's new faces walking around, and it's just a very enjoyable event to be a part of. So I'm pumped to start tomorrow, and I think I've got a great team of mechanics, engineers, executives, partners, co-drivers in order to make it happen.
You were racing for United Autosports in LMP2. Is the desire and motivation to win same when you have to share the car with other hombres compared to single-seaters?
No, it's the same. It's the same because it's a very different feeling, because when you win, it feels even not bigger, but it definitely feels like, well, you weren't the only one in the car. It was a combination of you and three other guys that brought it all together, which in a sense similar to what INDYCAR is, because you obviously are working with your engineers, you're working with your mechanics, but in this case you've got other guys that are driving the car and nursing the car to a victory, or trying to nurse it to a victory. So that's a bit different to INDYCAR, but each one is special in their own way.
Now, you've raced here with success before. How cool is it to go over 200 miles per hour on the banking at night?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's so cool, and I'm a big fan of night racing. I always have been, and it's definitely one of the funnest parts of the race, just because of night racing's a vibe. That's the best way to say it.
United Autosports is owned by Zach Brown and Richard Dean. Are you planning to do more races with them, like Sebring, Petit Le Mans, or the big one in France?
I'd love to. Right now, I'm the fourth driver here at Daytona, so I don't think there's anything more in the works for the next endurance races. But if they call me up and I can do it, I would be happy and glad to do it.
You had a very impressive championship victory in Indy Lights as a rookie. You won more than half the races. Was that the plan, or came as a pleasant surprise?
Well, doing IMSA the year prior to that was definitely not the plan. But I ended up, winning one of the most prestigious races in the world, one of my best, celebrations as a driver. A lot of guys dreamed to have won this race, and I got to win the championship, and then went on to Indy Lights, and had a phenomenal year. So it really is all about just taking the opportunities that are at hand. Sometimes, if I've learned something in the last few years, is you can't plan. You cannot plan anything, and things are going to come at you in massive speed, or things will take time. So all you have to do is be ready for it.
Among the drivers you have raced so far in your life, who are the top talents based on your experience and battles with them?
There's multiple very talented drivers. It's really hard to name just one of them, to be honest. I've my generation is really the Palau, the Herdas, Rosenquist is a bit older than us, but these guys that I grew up racing karts with, and I can't just name one of them. I think there's a massive list.
Racing on ovals, was that a big challenge, or came naturally to you, or did you employ a coach for oval racing?
No, I think coaches in racing are useless. I think it's sometimes okay to have a second pair of eyes to kind of help you and guide you through maybe their experiences in the past, but when you're at top level and someone is still trying to tell you how to drive the race car, well, maybe you should look into doing something else. So for me, it's always been about creating the strongest team around me in every way that I can, and always have people that add to your life and add into your battery pack, not take away.
Now, Sebastian Vettel called managers useless, saying he can get to the track by himself. Have you ever had a manager, or do you employ a racing manager?
I don't have a manager. I manage myself, so I guess there's a similarity with Vettel and I.
Okay, having raced in Indy Lights, Formula 2 and Super Formula, what are the differences between these cars and which one is the fastest?
The biggest horsepower is definitely the INDYCAR. The INDYCAR.
No, in the Indy Lights.
Oh, Indy Lights?
Compared to Indy Lights, Formula 2 and Super Formula.
The Super Formula takes the cake by a mile. I mean, seconds faster than the other ones. Then it's probably the Formula 2, which is similar to an INDYCAR. And then the Indy Lights.
Okay. You were born in Monterey. Are you friends with Esteban Gutierrez?
Yeah, I know of him. We'll see each other maybe once a year in the F1 paddock, but we're not chatting buddies.
Okay. Mexico has a rich history in motorsports, going back to the days of Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez. What got you interested in motorsport? Is this coming from your family?
No, actually, it was when I went to go see a go-kart race. Well, my grandfather previously had given me a go-kart, but really what kind of turned the key for me was when I experienced just a local go-kart race, and I said, I can do this, and that's pretty much what it started all.
Okay. You raced in the 2014 French Formula 4. Tell us about your experience there, and did you enjoy the long Mistral straight at Paul Ricard and the fast corner after that?
Yeah, I had a great time when racing in French Formula 4. I still feel like it was, just a few years ago. So very much enjoyed, and yeah, I got to go to some great tracks. Paul Ricard is obviously one of them. Valdivian, Jerez in Spain. So yeah, I got to enjoy a lot of really cool circuits.
French cuisine better than Mexican cuisine?
Absolutely not. I'm a full-blown Mexican, and I love our cuisine.
Well, I love Mexican food too, also. Here's my favorite question to IndyCar drivers. What is more important to you, winning the Indy 500 or Formula 1 at any cost, any car? Or drive in Formula 1 at any cost?
Winning the Indy 500, 100%.
And between the 500 and the IndyCar Championship?
Indy 500.
And I totally agree with you. Okay, Brian Herter once tested a Minardi. His comment was, worst F1 car is better than the best Indy car. You have tested Formula 1 machinery. What say you?
They are two completely different beasts, and they shouldn't be compared because, quite honestly, you've got 750 people or 800 people working for two cars in Formula 1, and in IndyCar, maybe you've got an eighth of that. The budgets are 10 times as more in Formula 1, and it really is a different beast. The Formula 1 cars are by far the most insane pieces of machinery that I've ever come across of, just because of how capable they are in every single way. But it definitely doesn't take away of just how physical the IndyCar currently is, and how difficult it is to be a champion, to be competitive, because I think it's the most competitive series in the world currently.
I know there are some efforts to get a second Grand Prix in Mexico. Is there any plan to get IndyCar back into Mexico?
I would love to see IndyCar back in Mexico. That'd be very, very special for me, but I think we're already 3 years late, so no idea when that could happen.
Okay, now the most important question. Your heritage is Irish, Mexican. When you win, do you celebrate with Guinness or Corona con Limon or both?
I celebrate with tequila.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I want to ask you one more question. I was at Indy a few years ago when you came very close to winning. I've seen a lot of motor races around the world. The intensity of the last 10 laps of Indy 500. You have experience as a driver. Tell me what you think.
It's unlike anything I'll probably ever experience in my life. Like, for example, last year, going for the win again. I think it was 6 laps to go, and we were passing for, I believe it was second place, right behind the leader, to ultimately, get the win in a couple laps after that. I could hear people scream from inside of the car.
Really?
When I popped out to make the pass, and it's just unreal, the energy that is the Indy 500.
Gracias,
yeah,
muchachos.
No worries, mate.
All the best.
Thank you.
Pato, thanks for joining F1Weekly.com. Back to you, NASIR.
Next, no turning the stone and turning Japanese. I really think so. 10 more years. That is the celebration at Silverstone Grand Prix Circuit, the home of British motor racing. The birthplace of Formula One World Championship will stay on the F1 schedule till 2034. And I don't know about you, Mr. Rogers, I am totally elated that Silverstone is not being replaced by a street race in Saipan or Saigon. Dien bien poo to that. But wait, there's more, and no salesman will call. The Japanese Grand Prix has also signed an extension with Formula One, and the magnificent Suzuka circuit will host the race till 2029. The track was designed as a Honda test circuit by Dutch engineer John Hugenholz, who also designed the Jarama circuit near Madrid in Viva España. Now we come to changes to sprint format. Some purists do not like the sprint racing that has been introduced in the past few years. I say more motor racing means more happiness for mankind. Starting this season, free practice 1 and sprint qualifying will take place on Friday. The sprint race and Grand Prix qualifying will be on Saturday, and of course the big show will be on Sunday. The previous format and the titles they were using really had me dazed and confused. Are you happy with the changes, sir?
I am happy with the changes. I'll probably still be confused, but I think these changes make sense, so eventually I will be taught by the system, and slowly through the season I'll figure it all out, and I'll feel really good about myself.
Oh, that's good. Next, Il Leone on Lewis. Our Nige has spoken on the biggest challenge that our LCH will face at Ferrari. It will not be his age. Instead, it will be MAX. I totally agree with Mr. Mansell. This max will make doors come off other drivers' championship hopes and aspirations. If Ferrari does not give LCH Elishiba, the 7-time world champion, will not be able to add another title. As we saw with Michael Schumacher at Mercedes and his first 4 years at Ferrari, our slogan remains true: no package, no delivery. Even the machismo thought he could keep winning after leaving Briatore and Renault. He did have the package, but it came with some TNT that was labeled LCH. Greetings from Monsanto. Oh dear, we just can't get enough of these two. Now we move on to Formula 2 testing that is going on in Bahrain as we speak, where the season will start, both for F1, F2, and I believe F3 also. All eyes will be on Mercedes Max Factor, and that is 17-year-old Italian Andrea Kimi Antonelli. We have been reporting on his remarkable racing progress since his karting days. He could be Toto's new hungry wolf, like George Russell. So far, Kimi Antonelli has won every championship he has entered in the European theatre after stepping into single-seaters. Plan was to have him race in Formula 3 this year, but now looks like Toto wants to put him on Dr. Marco's preferred drug, fast-acting Tinactin.
Boom! Tough-acting Tinactin.
I wish the Italian Kimi molto bene, but I will be very surprised if he can deliver the championship in his rookie season. If he does a GR or LCH, then someone in F1 today is paying the price. Second-year drivers, your fellow Francais Victor Martins and Oliver Behrman should win the championship, I think. Victor is in the Alpine Academy and Ollie is riding the Pony Express of the Prancing Horse. American representation in the series comes from Jack Crawford. The Dallas racer was a Red Bull Junior till last year, and just today or maybe yesterday I saw a news item that he has now joined the Aston Martin driver development program. And the second Amerikanski is Juan Manuel Correa, who is based in Miami and originally from Ecuador. Formula 2 will have a new Dallara-built car. Looks cool, the rear wing is a little funky, but as Dr. Miguel once said at Jerez de la Frontera to me at the pre-season testing for Formula 1, if the car is going 300 kilometers per hour, who cares? Have you seen the new F2 car and the rear wing especially?
Yes, I have. It's an interesting curvaceous rear wing, but I thought the car looked very futuristic and bad to the bone.
Yes, the car is very good, and I think this championship this year is going to be really bad to the bone also, and somebody is going to rock the Casbah. You know what is interesting? Kimi Antonelli is a rookie, and Ollie Bearman from England is also very young. He's very talented. Was very impressive last year in Formula 2. So if Kimi gets the upper hand and slaughters Bearman, then that will not be good for him. And if Kimi is dusted by Bearman, then it's not going to be good for him. But you know, both of them are with big teams, Mercedes and Ferrari. Hopefully they will not treat them as they do at, the stampeding and raging Red Bull. Okay, sir. Anything else you want to say before we go into famous last words, sir?
Well, there's a lot going on, and you know, this Red Bull thing has really perked the ears of a lot of team principals. I'm telling you that I've also heard in the grapevine that Christian Horner and Adrian Newey are sort of like a team package. Newey thinking that he might leave Red Bull if Christian is fired. There's a lot of stuff, and if Max and Josh feel like they're in a toxic environment, they're going to go quickly, and the big teams are going to pounce, and who pounces first is going to be exciting. Even Lando Norris came out now saying he wished that he waited because he didn't know that Lewis Hamilton was going to leave Mercedes and go to Ferrari, which mixed everything up, and so his contract that he just signed with McLaren is being scrutinized because there could be a clause somewhere to get him out if Red Bull swoop in and get Lando because Max is going to Mercedes. There's a lot of scary things going on. Stay focused.
Well, the change that I would love to see is Lewis Hamilton joined at Ferrari by Adrian Newey. Then we are looking championship 8, 9, 10 in the next 5 years. Whether it will happen or not, time will tell. Will that scare you and Nando?
It would, and with Adrian Newey, you could probably keep driving until you're 55.
Very true, very true. Okay, sir, now we move on with famous last words. Jonathan McCovey is an English journalist for the Daily Mail and a regular in Formula One press conferences on race weekends. This is how he described our beloved sport in recent story. And I quote, "Formula One, it has always been a tribal business, an ego-based hate party of rivals." End quote. Speaking of egos reminds me of Mr. Eddie Jordan, who once said, "The egos in Formula One are so big, you can float the Titanic on it," which I thought was a very cute comment. With that, we come to musical Mondial. There's too much confusion, and Christian Horner can get no relief. I think we all need some positivity in this racing community. So, gingerly, we provide a little Spice Girl action. Thank you for listening, and ta-ta till next time.
Cheerio!